Hello and welcome to the third episode of Singlehood Unlimited with Dr. Casey. I am your host, Dr. Casey, and we will be talking about singlehood. We have plenty of content online about romance, love, and relationships, but nothing about singlehood, especially not a positive, affirming, and celebratory take on singlehood. This show brings to you, for the first time in India, a lively discussion about the joys and tribulations of being single. In the course of my work, I have been asked a few times tips on handling marriage pressure from family. In our third episode, we are going to discuss how to successfully negotiate with parents and family who want you to get married. So I welcome my third guest for the show, who is Bhaumik, 34, and lives and works in Ahmedabad. He's a voracious reader and a travel enthusiast. In his profession, he leads India operations for an international non-profit. Welcome to the show, Bhaumik.
Thank you, Ketki, and it's all my pleasure to be on this show. I think, as you said correctly, that there are a lot of articles, movies, books about being together, but there's not enough content out there about what happens if you are single for your lifetime. And I think in general we do need this kind of discussions. So I'm glad to be a part of it, and hopefully I'll be able to contribute to this discussion.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, Bhaumik, can you tell us a little bit about your experiences and the process in which you went about negotiating with your parents when they pressurized you to get married?
Sure. I think even before we go to the negotiation part, I would like to kind of go through the journey where I realized that why I want to be single. Because until and unless you are sure what's your life choice, you won't be able to convince your parents. So if I talk about my journey, I think it took about 6 to 7 years of falling in love, dating, trying to fit myself into arranged marriage setting, and doing a lot of solo travel and spending time with myself. And when I kind of did everything in these 5 6 years, and then when I kind of analyzed that what worked for me, what did not work for me, I felt that the kind of personality I have, the kind of thought process I have, at least at this phase of my life, it's better to be single. And when I say this phase of my life, is because I truly believe that everything which we believe, everything which we think may change in future. And that's absolutely fine. But it's really important to kind of figure out what you want in your current phase, which if changes in future, that's fine. But it's really important to know why do you want to do something. Then only you'll be able to convince the people around, right? So after going through this process, when I realized that I think I'm just better off being single at this phase, it was time to tell my parents. And as we all know, it's a war which you have to win. I'll let you know the incident which happened. This is about 2014, where I was how much 28 years old, and that's the kind of age when people get married. So my mom was really pressurizing me that this is the time. अभी नहीं हुआ तो शादी कब करेगा, फिर कभी नहीं होगा वगैरह वगैरह. And I was very adamant कि नहीं मुझे नहीं करना है अभी. मतलब I don't think that I fit into that mold. अगर होगा तो होगा, नहीं होगा तो नहीं होगा. But I don't want to go to see girls, meet them in cafes, and try to figure out if can this be my wife? Can she be my wife? वो सब मुझसे नहीं होता था. So then she was very frustrated कि ऐसा कैसे होगा, ये लड़का क्यों शादी नहीं करना चाहता है. Then she took me to a psychiatrist to kind of help me understand her why I don't want to get married, or maybe to help me understand me that why it's important to get married. So we went to a psychiatrist, and she kind of described that ये लड़का शादी नहीं करना चाहता है, क्यों, आप जरा समझाइए उसको, बहुत जरूरी है शादी करना. Now the good thing was the psychiatrist, he knew what his job was. His job was not to convince me to get married. His job was not to tell my mom that he won't get married. His job was to kind of have a balance between us. His job was to have this war which was going between us, usko down karna. So first he asked me some question ki kyun shaadi nahi karna hai, and I realized that he was trying to understand if I am homosexual or if I am asexual. So he asked some questions around it, and then he realized that this is what I think and this is what my thought process is. So फिर उसने मुझे मेरी मॉम को ये कहा, and I still remember this exact sentences. it वो imprint हो गया है मेरे दिमाग में. He said कि your son is absolutely mature. He knows what he's talking about. He knows what are the consequences of not getting married. At this age, you cannot change his thought process. वो हो ही नहीं सकता. So then my mom started like crying कि ऐसा कैसे होगा, सोसाइटी वाले क्या कहेंगे अगर बच्चा शादी नहीं करेगा तो समाज में मैं क्या जवाब दूंगी वगैरह वगैरह. So then he told me very good thing which really helped me in making them understand. He told me ki, see, you guys are living in the same home. I live with my parents. I've been living with my parents my whole time. So he said ki, if you straightforward say no कि मैं शादी नहीं करूँगा, so you are creating a wall between you two, and that will increase this friction. Rather than telling her a complete no, give her some ray of hope, at least for some time. Don't say no. Say maybe okay, you'll see a girl probably 1 in 6 months. Take your time. There's no hurry. But keep that ray of hope alive at least for some time. ऐसे ही मना कर दोगे तो वो नहीं समझने वाली है आपकी बात. And that also made me think that हाँ कहीं ना कहीं वो सही भी इतना भी गलत. So I said कि ठीक है, I'll try. Let's see what happens. There's no guarantee that I'll get married. So then I started trying myself to fit into this arranged marriage setting. I was looking at girls for like 6 months, 7 months में एक बार होता था ऐसा. And I was genuinely trying, to be very honest. I was trying to understand if really I can't fit in this or is this just in my head कि मुझे शादी नहीं करनी. So I gave it a time. 2-3 साल ऐसा चला. हर 6-7 महीने में एक लड़की के साथ arranged marriage में वो setting होता था, बातें होती थी. After 3 years, I realized कि नहीं हो रहा है मुझसे. वो कहीं ना कहीं I am not the right person for this setting. और क्योंकि वो 2-3 साल मेरे पेरेंट्स ने भी देखा कि हाँ लड़का ट्राई कर रहा है, वो भी अपने हिसाब से कुछ कोशिश कर रहा है, he is putting some effort at least, but it's not happening. Then at certain age, I believe when you cross 31 or 32, they'll understand कि हाँ अभी ठीक है, let him live his own life. The other thing which is important, and I truly believe it's important, is keeping the marriage talk aside. If you are financially independent and busy with your life, that helps a lot. So at some point, I think my parents realized कि उसकी जिंदगी वो जी रहा है. ऐसा नहीं है कि हमारे से पैसे मांग रहा है हर मंथ और रो रहा है कि मैं क्या करूँ जिंदगी में, कुछ पता नहीं है. He is traveling, he is earning a good money, he is living his own life. If he wants to get married in future, he'll do it. Otherwise, he won't. So I think what happened in my case was this time period which I gave to them of 2-3 साल, जब I was genuinely trying to put some effort and I was putting efforts. But if it didn't work out at the end, then they also realized कि ठीक है, अभी जो है वो है.
Right. That is a very interesting detour, and I would have never thought that the when you brought up the psychiatrist, it felt like oh my God, this is a horrible thing, and then how that actually helped you and her understand the process. That was a very interesting twist in some sense from common sense, right? From what we assume the role the psychiatrist would play to coerce you. So I think maybe you're lucky that you found a good person.
Definitely, that's true.
Yeah. So do you have any specifically funny incidents to share, and or during those 3 years of process when you were seeing girls, how would you I mean, you said yes and you would go see her, but like were you told that you rejecting and you too picky? Like how did you handle those things?
Yeah, I think see as a parent, what all you care is your son or daughter should get married. I think the way arranged marriages work in India is funny in itself. Because you have to make a decision after 2 meetings. If you even say कि मैं तीसरी बार मिलने चाह रहा हूँ, they'll be like अब क्या मिलके करेगा, 2 बार तो मिल चुका है. You should know what you want to know in the 2 meetings. So also one more thing which I should clarify is even if I were married or if I get married in future, I don't think I want to have children. Now that's also a different kind of taboo and discussion in the society, right? And it happened with a couple of girls when I clearly said that even if I get married, I don't think I would like to have children. And that was a bombarding for my parents. Like, ऐसा कैसे बोल सकता है तू? मतलब अगर बच्चा नहीं करना है, तो कैसे जिएगा, मतलब शादी करना, बच्चा करना, that's your philosophy of life, यही तो करना है जिंदगी में, और क्या करना है. So they couldn't understand that, and of course I think after every meeting their kind of take was कि मिल तो लिया, अभी लड़की तो अच्छी है, बाकी सब जो है वो एडजस्टमेंट हो जाएगा, सीख लेंगे, उसमें क्या है, तो कर ले शादी, मतलब. So I think, I mean, yeah, it was tough for sure. I think problem तब भी होता है कि जब I remember this one incident where the girl's family was really interested, and they kind of started pressurizing my mom कि आपका बेटा हमें पसंद है, हमें तो शादी करना ही करना है. When this happened, then it's become difficult because then your parents think कि उस साइड से तो हाँ आ चुकी है, अभी बस हमको हाँ करना है तो सब कुछ हो जाएगा, लाइफ सॉर्ट. तो तब बहुत डिफिकल्ट होता है जब सामने से हाथ है, सामने से प्रेशर रहता है. But then again, you have to kind of give yourself time and you have to explain them कि why you don't think this is a good idea. I also went ahead and said कि मैं divorce ले लूंगा 2 महीने में, तो अब आप क्या करेंगे? Because again, divorce is another taboo which people don't want to talk about in the society.
Sorry, what? I didn't get it.
So yeah, ये सब बातचीत होती रहती थी. I would say it was, sorry? Hello?
Okay, yeah, we lost you for a moment. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think it was definitely not an easy journey, जो 2-3 साल थे. But then if you have decided something for yourself, then you have to stood by it. So you have to keep conversation on. You have to keep explaining them. And luckily it worked for me. I understand that it may be difficult for some people where parents are very rigid. Luckily it did happen with me. So yeah.
In that particular instance, what did you tell your parents? Because the girl side were pressuring so much. It's like a done deal, right? You just had to say yes and things would have got done, right? You would have been married. What did you say?
Well, I just said that our brains don't match, our thought process don't match. I think from the girl side, it was because, I come from a good family, I earn well. And that's all usually people see in arranged marriage, right? You don't think too much. I'm just a weirdo probably who thinks too much कि क्या करना है, कैसा partner चाहिए, वगैरह वगैरह. But if you are a kind of person where you just think that after marriage we'll learn and we'll live together, which is absolutely fine. Then you don't think too much of what kind of partner you want to. अगर एक दो basic चीजें हैं, so then you just get married and spend life together. But I was not that kind of person, and I'm not that kind of person. So I said my parents कि see, लड़की अच्छी है, कोई इंसान बुरा नहीं होता है, she's a nice girl. But kind of life I want to live, kind of thought process I have, kind of beliefs I have, it will be really difficult for me to live with her for entire life. It may look good for 1 month, 2 months, but I can't spend my entire life with someone who has this kind of beliefs and thought process. So that's what I told to my parents. And again, as I said, you have to just keep telling them, no. These are the reasons, and I don't think I will do it. At some point, they'll also realize कि ठीक है अभी, एक चीज के बाद वो भी कुछ ज्यादा नहीं कर सकते. So that's how it went with me.
Right. You seem to have handled it very persistently and calmly. So is that something that you think was some? It may be a trait, personality trait with you, but is it also a strategy that you feel has worked with maybe your parents?
Yeah, I think I won't say it a strategy, but I've been doing a lot of meditation and I'm into a lot of reading of philosophies and all. So one philosophy which I have for my own life and which I apply to every situation, not only this one, is that when someone opposes you, that person is correct when you put yourself into their shoes. So I never thought that my parents were wrong or they are wrong. I never thought that the society which keeps telling me to get married is wrong. They are coming from a different perspective. They have their own experiences, and that's why they are saying what they are saying. But I cannot allow that opposition or what they believe to kind of burn an anger and frustration in myself. That's not true. So as a human being, I always understood that whenever I have an opposition or whenever someone says that I'm wrong, that person is absolutely true when you put yourself into their shoes. And you have to accept that this is how the world works. And that's how I handle all these situations. That I've never thought why my parents are not understanding me. क्यों उनको समझ में नहीं आ रही इतनी simple बात. It's not a simple thing for them for sure. It's a very big thing for them to say that my children or my child will not get married. And so I understood that कि they are absolutely right. अगर मैं उनकी जगह पे होता तो शायद मैं भी वही करता. So you understand them, you don't kind of create an anger and frustration in yourself, and then try to kind of negotiate the situation, and it works out.
That's a wonderful perspective and learning, Bhaumik. Like, I think or me, I definitely should put this into place, especially as an academic, to be able to understand other people's perspective,
Mhm.
and understand that everybody is right in their own way.
Yeah.
And right, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. So after these 2-3 years, you said that you looked at girls, and after that, you weren't pressurized to meet women for marriage, right?
Right. I won't say that there is not a ray of hope yet. I think every Indian mom will have this ray of hope jab tak hum zinda hai. So even now, when marriage seasons are going, if some of my cousins get married, this conversation does pop up sometime. But of course, they don't ask me to register on shadi.com and other newspaper agencies and go into this dating mode. But they do keep telling me that, are you sure you still don't want to get married? Are you not bored with your life? Are you still sure that this is your life choice? This conversation keeps happening, and I think it will keep happening jab tak zinda hai hum log. And that's okay. As long as that's not too much pressure, that's fine. I'll also bring a couple of other journeys. Like I know some people who had the same kind of issues, and unfortunately, their parents were not cooperative and kind enough. In that case, they decided to live into other country altogether, and that's also totally fine. When you keep that distance, it kind of helps to neutralize these talks a bit. So if you are someone where it's really difficult for you to live with your parents, and agar wo nahi samajh rahe, if there's a lot of pressure, trust me, there's no harm in living in some other cities or area in other countries. I'm not saying that stop talking to them or hate them, but and the reason I'm saying this is, hamare, at least in Indian culture, it's not considered as a good thing to leave your parents and live on your own. People sometimes say ki maa baap ko chhod diya hai. If sometimes it's required, you have to do it, and that's totally fine. That's nothing wrong.
Especially for men, right? Men are supposed to
Yeah.
stay with the parents and look after them. Yeah. Women anyway will go out and
Women anyway will go out. That's true.
Very interesting. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Do you have any funny incidents about this negotiation process? Anything funny to share with us?
Uh, not funny as such. I think I just don't get this arrangement setting, to be very honest. So I don't. There could be something funny which I would not have realized. I don't know. But yeah, it just doesn't strike me that how do it happen. I mean, I know it happens for good, and those who are fit into this process, it works for them for sure. But I don't get that sense that how can you make a life decision by meeting someone for 2 to 3 times on phone. Yeah, and also, I mean, I'm Jain, but I do eat all the onions and potatoes. That was also a kind of conversation happened a lot, that if I date a Jain girl who is very strict, and that's interesting perspective. If you come from a mindset that after marriage everything will work out, then this is not a point of conversation. People will say, okay, I'll eat Jain food, you'll eat non-Jain food, we'll get along. But then if you think a lot how it happens and how will we get along, then of course, if you are a Jain and she's or he's a non-Jain, then it won't work. The conversation is stopped on the first meeting itself. So it depends on how people have different perception and how important and quickly you want to get married.
Right. But during this whole process, was the negotiation only with your parents, or did you have to also, you or your parents have to also speak to relatives, or work with that pressure?
No, luckily in my case, relatives are not that much involved. It's mainly with me and my parents. And I think even from the opposite end, I should say that nowadays girls are also mature enough that when you say no, they understand it's okay. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. So I was lucky enough in that sense. For me, there was no other pressure than my parents. And even especially my mom, I would also say that I was lucky enough to have a dad who, I don't know whether he just doesn't speak much or he really doesn't care. I don't know. But my mom is the one who still keeps thinking about my marriage, and that was the only person who was difficult to kind of
Right.
negotiate through this
Right.
journey.
But you're speaking still about arranged marriage. Did your parents at any point say, okay, fine, if you don't like arranged marriage, why don't you find someone for yourself or, fall in love and get married? Was that kind of thing told to you?
Absolutely, absolutely, and they are ready for any religion, any foreigner. Bring anyone you want to. Just bring someone and get married, get settled in life.
Basically,
And in fact, that's a good point you brought up. So a lot of my friends are in US, and so profession-wise, I did an engineering, and I kind of switched my career to a total management profession. So sometimes my mom thinks that if I had stuck to the engineering, which is a conventional path, and if then I had gone to USA, I would have definitely married by this time and had children, because that's a conventional path which you take. She thinks that the reason I don't want to get married is I switched my profession. I met some people in this field, a social work field, who are not married. So my boss in my previous company is also not married. I have friends who are not married. So she thinks that because I have switched my profession and I met such kind of people who have this mindset, that's why I don't want to get married. So she sometimes regrets that why did I allow you to switch your profession? You should have been in engineering. You should have gone to USA, and then by that time you would have kids as well. So she definitely regrets that why did she allow me to change my profession. But again, these are all in your mind. You never know how life turns out.
but in a way, she's not wrong because your profession, not just your profession, but the kind of friends you're surrounded with does affect a lot your
It does.
decisions and the way you think. Maybe if you were in that, environment where everybody was getting married, you might have succumbed to that pressure. But now that your boss is unmarried, that is itself says a lot.
Right. That's true. Even so I was born in Ahmedabad, and all my relatives are in Ahmedabad. But we shifted to Surat for 10 years, 1991 to 2000. And sometimes she also since we shifted from the base and all our relatives were in Ahmedabad and we were in Surat. And Surat is a very vibrant community. We used to live with all kind of religion and people there. That has also helped me to develop a different perspective. But my mom also feels that if I would have been like living in Ahmedabad, अगर मैं पूरा जिंदगी यहीं पे रहा होता, तो then I would have that conventional mindset कि शादी करना बच्चा करना ये जिंदगी होती है. I would not have thought इसके अलावा कि भी कुछ जिंदगी होती है. So yeah, I think she keeps coming with this rationals ki why I am what I am, but you can't help with the past.
Yeah, what is done, and thankfully that
Yeah.
is. Yeah. I just want to share a small funny incident when I was pressure. The pressure was more during my 20s. I think for men, I'm wondering for women, the pressure kind of wanes off, starts early, but also wanes off early because once you cross 30, 32, you're like, she's too old. But then I think for men, I'm assuming it still continues for a long time because they can still get married a little later, like, for women with the whole biological stuff and all of that. So I remember when I was 24, they were looking for me, and I had a dream one night that I was getting married. And before I got married, I was sitting at the altar, at the mandap where the fire is. And I got up and I ran away. And I ran away and I was running at the beach, on the beach, wearing shoes. And then I went and played basketball with some friends. So when I related, and I specifically remember also which friend, I still have it in my memory, like that image is very vivid, that specifically, and that friend is also a single woman. So when I told this to my mother, this entire dream, she realized, oh, that was symbolic in some sense that, my daughter is not ready to get married. So what I'm saying is, I was looking for something funny like that, where sometimes these things, these kind of, it's not like I was making up the dream, this is what I actually dreamt.
Right.
But that also convinced her, not for the most of the time, but for a while, it kind of gave her the idea, maybe she's not ready. Instead of saying she doesn't want to, but it's too early or she's not ready.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
was funny.
Sure. Yeah.
Hmm. Any tips you would want to give, one or two or three, basic tips you want to give to people who are negotiating with their parents? You have said that, but if you want to repeat.
I think I always feel that first step is to figure out, is that really you want? And the reason I'm saying, these days I meet a lot of millennials who are in their 20s. They, like, a lot of people have told me this, okay, what a great life you have. You travel so many countries, you read a lot of books. We also don't want to get married because we want to travel. We want to learn different languages. We want to live in a different cities. And I say that that cannot be a reason for being single. You can travel with your partner as well. Or even if you are single, you may not be able to travel. So traveling and reading and following your hobby has nothing related to with your being single. What strategy I always follow, where I have a dichotomy, is you figure out what are the negatives of your life choices. Even single life has its own negative. It's not that every glitter is gold. So kind of note down, if you get married, what are the negatives? If you are single, what are the negatives? Then ask yourself what negatives you can live with. Do not go for positives. I will be very happy if I get positives of my married life. But ask yourself what are the negatives you can live with. If you feel that you are okay with living negatives of single life versus negatives of married life, then yes, you are single at heart. So kind of do a lot of analysis on your own characters and your hobby and kind of person you are, and then figure out if that's what you really want. That's always first step. Second step, as I said, that no one is wrong in this world. Everyone comes from their own perspective, their own experiences. And it's very important to have a peace with it. Okay, लोगों को जो बोलना है वो बोलना है. You can't fight with everyone in this world. The only person probably you can fight is yourself. Try to understand that be at peace. जो है वो है. Don't get angry and frustrated. And third, give time. Either give time, or as I said, if you think it's not going to work out, stay away with your parents for some time. That's fine. That you give them time. And try keep this conversation on and on. Stick to your decision. I think the worst thing is to get pressurized and to get married if you don't want to. Do not do that. That's the worst thing to do. So stick with your decision if that's your decision. I guess time does heal a lot of things. For someone it may take 1 year, for someone it may take 10 years. So yeah, I mean, if the important thing is to realize that if you say you want to be single, it means you are doing something unique, something which is not conventional, and that means your life will be difficult. Let's accept it. There will be a lot of opposition, and there's no way around it. You have to accept it. It's your decision, so just live by it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Bhaumik. This was extremely useful. You gave us not just your experiences, but a completely new perspective on how to understand other people and how to negotiate in a very respectful manner. So, with that lovely thought, I'm going to end the conversation here. And I hope you all enjoyed our conversation today with Bhaumik. So we'll hopefully see you again at some point of time later for another episode.
Thank you, Kaviti. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.